My name is Shari Sinewlski, and I've come from Florida in the United States. I work as the Associate Director for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline in the U.S. Suicide prevention is important to me for a variety of reasons. It's touched my life personally. I've lost a couple of close friends to suicide. It's interesting sometimes when you work in suicide prevention, people who are more part of the lay world often say, well, isn't that a depressing job, or that sounds really awful or hard? And I don't really think of it that way. I think it's sort of a blessing to be able to work with people when they're in crisis and they have nowhere else to turn. So I think it's important for me because it's a way to give back and to help people who maybe feel like they don't have anywhere else to turn. So I'm doing two presentations, actually three presentations if you take into account the Lifeline conference as well. So I'm doing, my first presentation is called From Reporting to Supporting, and it's about an initiative that Lifeline US has had with Facebook. Because so many people, have friends and family on Facebook, and they may put information on Facebook that indicates that they are in crisis. We've worked really closely with them to help to establish some ways for people to support each other on Facebook. It's called From Reporting to Supporting because initially Facebook had basically just had a feature within their settings where people would report if they saw suicidal content from a user. And when that happened, then Facebook would send information to them about the Lifeline or other resources. But that's continued to evolve over the years to become an even greater tool. One of the themes for the Lifeline in the U.S. is that everybody can do something to help those who are at risk for suicide. And so this new feature allows people to not only report if they're concerned about somebody, but also reach out to them directly. So it will even allow them to have some suggested things that they might say to a friend or a family member, or get some other friend or family member involved. And then of course there's options for Facebook to reach out to them so that they can chat with a counselor or they can call the Lifeline. We have a new video that goes over how that process works, and I'm really excited to say that I checked it out before I came here and that Australians are also able to use that feature as well as part of their Lifeline. So really great to check out that link and see the video so that people can become more familiar with how to support people at risk on Facebook. Another presentation that I'm giving while I'm here at the conference is called Nothing About Us Without Us. And it's a presentation about the history of the lived experience movement in the United States. Lifeline in the United States was really kind of one of the early organizations in working with people with lived experience. And right from the beginning, we incorporated what we called our Consumer Survivor Subcommittee into the Lifeline Advisory Board. And the reason that we did that is because we recognized how important it was to get stories of folks who had really lived through experiences of suicide. So people who have perhaps lost someone to suicide, or alternately somebody who has lived through their own thoughts of suicide or perhaps a suicide attempt. And one of the things that's real important as the evolution of lived experience has evolved in our country is recognizing that for many years, suicide prevention was about, reporting statistics on deaths and how horrible suicide was, and that's why it was important to prevent it. But what we're really recognizing now is that through stories of hope and recovery, showing people who have lived experience of suicide and how they've moved on from that, what they've done to be able to cope and live positive lives, can really make an impact to other people that are in crisis. So our work now with lived experience and the lived experience movement in the United States is trying to find ways to bring people with lived experience together and help to share their stories. Another project that I've been involved with is the support groups for people with lived experience of a suicide attempt. in my work with the Dee Dee Hirsch Suicide Prevention Center in Los Angeles, one of the Lifeline network centers, we created a support group for people who have lived experience of a suicide attempt. We had lots of survivors calling because of the information that we had about our survivor groups on our website, and we found, interestingly enough, that it wasn't the survivor that we were serving at that time, because they were lost survivor groups. So we began to really recognize the need for interventions for people who had the lived experience of a suicide attempt. And now we've developed an 8-week support group to bring people together so that they can recognize that they're not alone in this process, help to find a place to connect with others who have lived through the same thing and learn from each other. And also, one of the things that's done in the group is they learn how to do a safety plan, so learn how to find perhaps other ways that they may be able to cope when they're having really stressful situations or thoughts of suicide, with the hope that perhaps suicide isn't seen as the only option to end the pain that they're experiencing. But we've really had positive outcomes from the group. So many of the members have really just said such things as, you know, it saved their life. It was very different than going to a therapist who they didn't necessarily understood so clearly their experiences. And we're also doing some evaluation of the group that's showing that thoughts of suicide are going down, suicidal desire is going down, suicide intent is going down, and connected and buffers is going up. And so we're really happy with those results. And extremely happy because here in Australia, one of the Lifeline centers in Port Macquarie is looking to replicate that group. So we're really excited that folks with lived experience will soon have this resource in Port Macquarie and perhaps other parts of Australia, as Dr. Maple is doing an evaluation of the group there in Port Macquarie in the hopes that, you know, that might be a resource that's available more widely throughout Australia.